How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Sports. I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, to give you my Week 17 picks in the NFL. I'll talk a little bit about the games on Christmas. I hope everybody had a very Merry Christmas for those that celebrate, of course. And then obviously we have New Year's coming up next week. But we'll talk about the games briefly. Not a ton to take away from these games, really, because a lot of these teams that played yesterday, well, yeah, it's played yesterday, depending on when you're watching or listening to this, didn't really have anything to play for, and also you had a lot of backups playing, backup QBs playing in these games. Cowboys Commanders. I mean, the Cowboys jumped out to a 21-3 lead, and feeling pretty good about it if you took the Cowboys and laid the points. But then you had a cross Chimera touchdown in the second half, a long touchdown run, and Washington kind of got themselves back in the game and kept it close, and they were able to backdoor cover against the Cowboys. But the Cowboys got the win. They're 7-8-1. They got an opportunity next week to get themselves to 500 and finish with the 500 record and go 8-8-1 on the season. And they probably will do that because they will be taking on the Giants next week. And we'll talk about the Giants in a little bit as they take on the Raiders. Then in the middle game, this was kind of the game that did have things on the line, particularly for the Detroit Lions, going up against the Vikings, who were starting Max Brosmer because J.J. McCarthy's out with the hairline fracture on his hand. So he didn't play, so Brosmer got the start. He only threw for 51 yards. Really didn't do much in this game, but the Vikings defense got takeaways. 6 turnovers the Lions had in this game. They were fumbling the football. Goff fumbled. Gibbs fumbled. Goff had a couple of picks in this game. Was pressured all game long. The Vikings defense, great performance by them. You had a long touchdown run, a little end around play to Jordan Addison. He took it to the house for a touchdown late in the game. And the Lions are eliminated from the playoffs. The Vikings sweep the season series. How about that? The Lions actually are now 1-4 against the division this year. They got swept by the Packers. They got swept by the Vikings. The only divisional game they have won is against the Bears earlier this season when they put up 52 points against them. And now the Bears have an opportunity to return the favor next week when they play the Lions. So we'll see what happens there. But right now it looks like the Bears, they could win this division, and they probably will. Packers clinch a playoff spot now because of the Lions losing yesterday. So the Lions, had they won that game, they would need Green Bay to lose tomorrow night against the Ravens, and then the following week, next week, against the Vikings, and the Lions would have had win out. They won yesterday. They'd have to win next week in order to make it, but they will not be making the playoffs this year. And yeah, I mean, you lose, your 2 coordinators. There was a lot of, turmoil on that offensive line. Guys getting hurt. They had to use. They talked about it on the broadcast last week. I believe Jim Nantz and Tony Romo talked about it. Different offensive line combinations. I mean, they went through I think 13 different offensive line combinations. It was some ridiculous number like that this season. They tried to bring back, one of their offensive linemen, and of course he failed the physical, so he ended up not coming back. And it's just it was a rough year for Detroit to step back. I mean, they were 4-1 at one point this year, so you thought this was a team that was destined for the playoffs again. But once again, injuries, and they lost some close games this year. I mean, obviously last week against the Steelers was a killer. So yeah, no playoffs for Detroit. So they're going to have to figure it out this offseason. The front office and Dan Campbell are going to have to get together and try to revamp this team and build this team back up again. And there's still a ton of talent on this team. But everybody's been pointing to what Dan Campbell said after the NFC Championship game a couple of years ago when he said this could have been our window. Well, it's looking like that because last year you had the 1 seed, you won 14 or 15 games, I should say, and you got eliminated in the first round or the second round after you had a first round bye. And then this year you don't even make the playoffs at all. So, and these other teams, I mean, you got the Packers, you got the Bears now, and the Vikings. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with the quarterback position going forward. I mean, J.J. McCarthy, before he got hurt again, started to look like he was starting to put it together. And they still have a good roster. Like, that's why I had them winning the division this year, because I love their roster. And you saw firsthand, look at what that defense did. If that defense was backed up by an offense that could put, some possessions together and score and score touchdowns and what they did last year, this team would have had a better record. This team would be right there for the playoffs, but they're not going to make it. I mean, they could still finish with a winning record. They could still finish 9-8 if they beat the Packers next week. But yeah, no playoffs for Detroit. No playoffs for Minnesota either. And then you got the final game. You had the Broncos and the Chiefs. No Patrick Mahomes, obviously, but that was a big number last night. 13.5 points the Chiefs were getting. I don't know where it changed, if the line changed at all. But yeah, no, I took the Chiefs at home with that many points because Denver doesn't they don't cover big spreads like that. So I was like, the Chiefs got a good defense. Maybe they keep it close. Full week of practice. Um, for the third string, maybe they keep it close, and they did. I mean, the Chiefs actually had the lead at certain points in the game, but like the Broncos do, they pull it out in the end. Bo Nix throws that touchdown pass to R.J. Harvey, and then the Chiefs get stopped on fourth down, throwing the ball to the end zone, and that's it. And that could have been Travis Kelce's last game at Arrowhead. It's possible. I mean, he talked about it after the game. He's going to talk it over with his family. So he's going to take some time, but this could be it. This could be it for Travis Kelce, one of the greatest tight ends of all time. And, again, that's a big piece that might not be there next year. Chiefs are another team. They're going to have to figure some stuff out. But if Patrick Mahomes is healthy next year, I think one of the biggest things they're going to need to address once again is the offensive line. They got to stabilize this offensive line because Mahomes took way too many hits this year. I think they got to figure that out, and obviously the running game is something they're going to have to address too in the draft or free agency, or both. I know there's a lot of people talking about Jeremiah Love going to the Chiefs, so there's things they're going to have to address, but I think the defense is still pretty good. You can obviously add to the defense, but the offense definitely needs, I think, more of the work. That side of the ball needs some work. You got to build it back up and surround Patrick Mahomes with more talent and better protection. So, but the Broncos get the win. Depending on what the Chargers do, I mean, it's going to set up an interesting Week 18 game. Right now, the Broncos are in the lead when it comes to the top seed in the conference, in the AFC. So, when it's all said and done, playoffs could be running through the Mile High City. I mean, how crazy is it now? You got the Broncos as the 1 seed, and you got the Patriots as the 2. It's like Peyton Manning and Brady are playing again. So, yeah, no, it's gonna be interesting what happens there. But yeah, Broncos picked up the win, another close game, 20-13 over the Chiefs. Chiefs are now 6-10 on the season. All right, so let's get into these picks. Not very confident in them. So we got 2 games on Saturday. Got 4:30 game on NFL Network, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and then you got an 8 p.m. game on Peacock, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So you got the Chargers and the Texans. So this is a rematch from the wild card game last year where the Texans just beat up the Chargers, and they got the win there. And look, the Chargers' offensive line is a problem once again going into this game. And, I do worry about Justin Herbert going into this game with that defense. The Texans' offense was not very impressive last week against the Raiders. I mean, the Texans almost lost that game. I mean, that ended up being a very close game. I thought the Texans' defense was going to just shut that team down, but Ashton Jeanty had a big game, a couple of long touchdowns, a touchdown pass, and a touchdown run. So, and the point spread, the Chargers are favored by 2.5. So, yeah, I wasn't really impressed by the Texans last week. Not really impressed by their offense and C.J. Stroud, but I am very impressed by their defense, obviously. Their defense is the number 1 defense in the league. But I think the Chargers, I think they get revenge against the Texans this time around. I think they win. I think they cover the 2.5. I think it's going to be like a very low-scoring game here. I mean, it could be, I'm not going to say very low-scoring, but it could be like a 20-17 ball game, something like that. I think it's going to be close. And the Chargers have a good defense, too, so they could also first force turnovers, get to C.J. Stroud. But I think this is going to be a good competitive game, but I do like the Chargers in this spot to get revenge from last year's playoff loss, win a close ball game here. And then this game, the later game, was supposed to be better matchup we were getting, but instead of Jordan Love versus Lamar Jackson, we're getting Tyler Huntley versus Malik Willis. And, Malik Willis, he put the Packers in a position to win the game last week against the Bears, but it didn't happen because they didn't recover the onside kick. Tyler Huntley, once he came into the game, that kind of changed the whole momentum of that contest with the Ravens going up against the Patriots. Well, I mean, after the Derrick Henry touchdown, the second touchdown, that's when the momentum changed, and all of a sudden Drake May and that offense just heated up, and they pulled off that comeback there. Also benefited from some Ravens turnovers. But yeah, look, the Ravens need this game. The Packers with the Detroit Lions loss, they clinched the playoff spot, so they could pretty much hold Jordan Love out for these final two games. I mean, he obviously dealing with the concussion, so he's not playing. Also dealing with the shoulder injury as well. But yeah, he's out. So it's going to be Malik Willis, and I think even if he clears concussion protocol and he has an opportunity to play next week, maybe you hold him out. Maybe you hold him out, and you get him ready for the following week. The Packers play on Wild Card Weekend, or sorry, I should say Super Wild Card Weekend. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Packers here. The better of the two quarterbacks or the backup quarterbacks here in this spot. The Ravens do need this game obviously to keep pace with the Steelers, but I just think last week after that loss and after Lamar going down again with an injury, I think that was the nail in the coffin. I think this is it for them. I think they lose this game, and it's going to be interesting what they do with John Harbaugh after the season. Then we got an interesting game. We move to Sunday. We got the 12-3 Seahawks against the 8-7 Panthers. Panthers getting 6.5 points at home. This one's tough for me because I could definitely see the Seahawks. Look, the Panthers, they've been a weird team all year, right? They lose to the Saints twice. They beat the Rams, though. They beat the Packers in Lambeau. And, the Seahawks, sometimes Sam Darnold tends to struggle on the road, and then, the game ends up being close. So, you know what? I think the Panthers could keep it within the 6.5. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if, the Seahawks end up winning by a lot and the defense forces turnovers and gives the offense good field position. But I did like how the Seahawks last week against the Rams, they got the running game going with Kenneth Walker. He had his best game of the season. Zach Charbonnet had a touchdown. So maybe look to see that continue, maybe. And that would make Seattle even more dangerous if they can get that running game going, more consistency out of that. But I think the Seahawks will still win the game. I'll pick them to win outright, but I think the Panthers keep it close. I'm going to go with that. And then another game, big number here, 7.5. The Cardinals are getting on the road against the Bengals. Look, I know the Cardinals haven't won a game since Jacoby Brissett has taken over, but I feel like the Cardinals could keep it within the number. Right, the Bengals' defense is not very good. Marvin Harrison Jr. is back for the Cardinals. The Cardinals got some good pass catchers, and I think this could be a game that goes back and forth a little bit. And the Cardinals maybe could pull off a backdoor cover. I think Jacoby Brissett, despite the winless record, I think has done okay. But I'll still take the Bengals to win, but I got the Cardinals covering. Steelers, 3.5-point favorites over the Browns. No DK Metcalf, suspended for 2 games. Gonna take the Steelers. I know it's a divisional game, could be tough, but I'm gonna take the Steelers. I'm gonna take the Steelers win, and if they win, I mean, hey, also could see the possibility of the Ravens losing and then the Steelers clinch, and then maybe they just rest Aaron Rodgers for 2 games. Maybe you do that. And this Steelers team could definitely use the extra rest because of, and we talked about this with the veteran players they got on their roster. So, yeah, so I got the Steelers winning and covering, but again, divisional game. Browns got a good defense. They played better this past week against the Bills, so we'll see. But I'm gonna go with the Steelers though. This game I was going back and forth. The Jags 6.5-point favorites on the road against the Colts. I mean, after the good defensive performance that the Colts put on against the Seahawks a couple weeks ago, the Niners just completely shredded them. And now you got the Jaguars coming in. Trevor Lawrence is playing as good as any quarterback in the NFL right now. And I think Colts are pretty much done. So I think that continues. I thought last week was the game where against Denver that Trevor Lawrence was going to have his letdown game, but that didn't happen. Maybe it happens this week when I pick him. But yeah, no, I'm gonna go with the Jags. Cover the 6.5 on the road. Then you got the Bucks against the Dolphins. Dolphins again 5.5 points. The Bucks need this game because even if the Panthers win, if the Bucks win too, then it's gonna come down to next week. I mean, obviously the Bucks would like the Panthers to lose and they win, but the Bucks need this game. The offense doesn't look right. You're going up against a rookie quarterback though, making his second career start. You should get this win. And I think the offense maybe clicks finally. They win and cover. So I'll take the Bucks. Patriots or Jets are getting 13.5 points. Home against the Patriots. Patriots coming off of that impressive comeback win against the Ravens. There might be no TreVeyon Henderson, who had 3 touchdowns against the Jets the last time they played each other. I'm going to go with the Pats, though. It's going to be Brady Cook again, I believe. I think the Patriots win, and they win pretty handily, so I'm going to go with them. Another one I was going back and forth with, the Saints and the Titans. Titans actually are kind of playing better as of late a little bit. Cam Ward's starting to look better, getting more comfortable. I mean, I like how Tyler Shuck has been playing for the Saints. I think I'm going to go with the Titans at home with the 2.5. I don't think I go. Actually, no. I did get them right when I took the 49ers to cover that big spread. But other than that, like they've been covering when I don't think they should. And then all of a sudden, last week I took the Chiefs against them. They ended up winning outright. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm going to take them at home, though, against the Saints. But the Saints have been playing better. Give Kellen Moore some credit. Because this team looked like it was going to have one of the worst records in the NFL. But, hey, if they went out 7-10 with the roster that they have, that's not bad. That's not bad. So, I mean, even 5 wins with the team you have now is not bad either. So, all right, so now we got the Giants and the Raiders. Tank Bowl. All right, this is basically for the number 1 overall pick. So, there's going to be no Max Crosby for this game. Raiders shut him down. He was not happy about it. He left the building. So, could be it for him in Vegas. And you know what? He should go somewhere else because he has been with that team, since the start of his career, and he's dealt with all this drama surrounding this team, and different regimes, quarterbacks, and it hasn't panned out. This guy deserves to go somewhere and play for a contender, and he's been playing through injuries this year too. And he wanted to keep playing, but the Raiders said no. So, yeah, I think the Raiders and Max Crosby, they should part ways, and he should go somewhere where he can compete for a championship. So, yeah, who am I taking in this Tank Bowl? I'm going with the Raiders. I'm going with the Raiders. Listen, Ashton Jeanty did very well against a very good Texans defense, the best defense in the league. This is one of the worst defenses in the league, in the Giants, and I think the Raiders should take advantage of that. I don't know. I mean, Giants were going up against a good defense last week, so that's why you didn't see Jackson Dart throwing the football a lot. But even when he did, I mean, Giants really couldn't find any success on offense. And I just think the Raiders being at home, I'm just taking them. I'm just taking them here. There's nothing I could really. I mean, I could say, hey, look, you can take Pete Carroll or you're going to take Mike Kafka. Well, Pete Carroll's got the same amount of wins as Mike Kafka. Well, actually, technically not. I mean, the 2 games the Giants won were with Brian Daboll. I still can't believe it. The Giants won. The 2 games that the Giants won were against 2 playoff teams, the Chargers and the Eagles. But yeah, I'm gonna take the Raiders. So I'm taking the Raiders. They're 1.5-point favorites. I'm taking them. Bills and Eagles. Speaking of the Eagles, Bills-Eagles, very good game. Bills 2.5-point favorites at home. Both teams are coming off of wins. Josh Allen's a little banged up. Eagles offense still doesn't look right. I mean, Saquon Barkley's starting to, find his rhythm again, which is good. I'm going to take the Bills at home. I think this will be a good game, close game, but I'm going to take the home team. Take the Bills minus the 2.5. Then we got a good Sunday night game. We got the Bears and the Niners. If the Niners win out, they get the 1 seed. So how about that? Bears coming off of that miraculous comeback against the Packers. 49ers really beat up the Bears last year. But this is a different team now coming in. I mean, well, both teams are different now coming in. I think this is going to be a very good game. I'm gonna side with the home team though. I'm gonna take the Niners, but I would not be. This game's a flip of a coin though, in my opinion. I think the Bears are going to put up a much better fight than they did last year. I mean, they're a much better team than they were last year. So, but Brock Purdy and that offense, I mean, they are coming in hot with this game. So we'll see. And then last game of the week, Rams 8.5-point favorites against the Falcons. Obviously coming off of that tough loss against the Seahawks. It's a big number. It is a big number, but I'm going to take the Rams here. I think they give Kirk Cousins a hard time. They get after him. They force some turnovers, and Matthew Stafford continues to justify his MVP case, which I think has already been cemented, but I think he just continues to build up his resume for this season. I think the Rams get back on track. They win. They cover this number. So far I'm 1-2 in the spreads. I'm 2-1 straight up. So yeah, to run through the picks again: Chargers -2.5, Packers -2.5, Panthers +6.5, the Seahawks to win, Cardinals +7.5, Steelers -3.5, Jags -6.5, Buccaneers -5.5, Patriots -13.5 against the Jets, Titans +2.5 against the Saints, Raiders -1.5, Bills -2.5 against the Eagles, 49ers -2.5 against the Bears, and then the Rams -8.5 against the Falcons. So those are all my picks for this week. Probably will get 7 or 8 like I've been doing. And then it's just one more week after that. And that's it. And then we go to the postseason. Playoffs start on January 10th. So buckle up. I know I've probably said that before. But as always, everybody, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, to the video. Please help out the channel. Continue to help make it grow. Also follow us on the social media platforms in the description below: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. And then wherever you get your podcasts, you can also listen to these podcasts as well. Just look up Infinite Sports, and you will find us there. And as always, everybody, if you're on the East Coast and you're getting some snow, stay safe. Again, happy holidays, happy New Year. We'll be back on Monday to recap all the games from over the weekend. And until next time, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off. Have a good one. I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.